Hey there. Welcome to episode 69 of Toy Talk with Mike and Chad.
I'm Mike.
I'm Chad. And the toys we're going to be talking about today are the latest G.I. Joe releases. Now, I know over the last month or so, there's been like G.I. Joes everywhere since San Diego Comic-Con concluded. They kind of started releasing super quick. And we have quite a few to talk about.
Yeah, because we did an episode not too long ago.
Yeah.
Last time we got together.
August 1st would have been.
Yeah, so on August 1st, we get together. And as we shoot this today, it's August, what, 21st?
24th.
24th. Okay. And yeah, we did an episode where we reviewed, like, I don't know how many G.I. Joes.
It was a lot.
It was a lot. Like, let's just say a dozen G.I. Joes. And since then, in the half a month or the 3 weeks that have passed, we have a whole new batch of G.I. Joes, which we knew were coming. We told you in that episode that we had a bunch in the mail. So those guys have all arrived.
Yeah, we were not lying.
Yeah. So,
should we maybe start with mine because they're older? I have 3 other ones that I received in the mail a couple weeks ago. These are all old releases that I didn't acquire because I was either screwed out of them by GameStop or I just wasn't in the G.I. Joe game, G.I. Joe Classified game at this point.
Yeah, you were a little late to G.I. Joe Classified.
Yeah.
So you missed out on some of those earlier releases. And you have got a guy that you found on YouTube, right?
Yes.
And he's going to become your go-to hookup for some of these things that you missed out on.
Yeah.
Feel free to give him a shout-out.
I absolutely will give him a shout-out. So, Rolando is a guy that I met in the G.I. Joe Classified Collectors Canada Facebook group.
Okay.
And didn't realize that he actually can acquire G.I. Joes. So I've done a couple deals with him. Fantastic guy to do business with. Very friendly. Will bend over backwards to get you whatever you want.
And he's a YouTuber who does his own reviews,
He
too.
does. So please check out his channel, G.I. Rolly. And let's get started. So for any of our non-regular viewers, I was off work in February, broke my ankle and my leg, and had to stop collecting figures. So the 3 of these that I'm about to show did come out a couple of years ago, as I had mentioned. He was able to track some of them down.
Yep.
And was very kind enough to hold them for me. Let me set up payment plans and stuff as I was gradually getting back to work so that I could buy them.
Yeah.
So I'm super excited for these. So the first one is the Snake Supreme Cobra Commander. Now he is number 9. Yeah, number 9 in the line. So
that's a cool figure.
He's got this nice slip case.
Yeah, the box is really cool.
And the box is cool. So on the back, got this cool design. And then the front of the box just opens up like that. And there is the Snake Supreme Cobra Commander. So I have a big attachment to Cobra Commander. He was one of my favorite G.I. Joes when I was younger. I had the base model.
Yep.
Then I had the Battle Armor, I think it's called. Battle Armor Cobra Commander. And I just love the detail on this guy. Super cool dude.
Yeah, and the way the box opens, hopefully you guys that watch this channel also follow me on Instagram, because my Instagram is solely devoted to my toy collection. I don't, it's none of my personal stuff. So if you don't follow it, it's Mike's Collection Halifax. But I'm not one for posting stories.
Yeah.
I post pictures. I think if you go to my channel, the only story in the 4 or 5 years I've been doing Instagram, this is the only story I have where I did a little boomerang of me opening and closing this box.
Yeah.
So I think that's the only one on my channel because it is really neat the way it kind of slides open and close.
I know, and just the Cobra on the front, man, I love that artwork. It's cool. I can't say enough about this. So when I saw that Rolando was selling one, I was like, can I please have that? Work through it, set up a payment plan. and got him.
Cool. Yeah, it's a cool figure. It's the exact same figure that we've already got twice before.
Yeah.
The original Cobra Commander from Wave 1, as well as I think they call it Regal Cobra Commander, which was like an online release. This one here, though, he has some extra accessories, and he has the cloth cape, which is pretty cool. It's a cool figure. It's the only Cobra Commander in black in the classified line thus far. So yeah, I'm glad you got it finally.
This one is Dr. Mindbender. So you have probably, again, if you're a follower on the regular, have heard me talk about how GameStop screwed me over on this.
Yeah, we don't need to go into all the backstory again. Because, yeah, Mindbender is kind of old news.
Especially since they announced the new Mindbender that's coming out.
This one's a little painful because Chad's been looking for this one for a while because it was hard to get.
Yeah.
But after he committed to buying it from Orlando, Hasbro has announced that they're going to re-release this figure on a single card, which is probably going to be much, much cheaper than what you paid for this one.
That's okay, though. I am a man of my word. I do business. I like to help support fellow collectors.
No, good for you.
I'm psyched that I actually finally got him.
Yep.
And the last one, I always talk about how I have a thing for female Cobra troopers or like female troops because we don't often get a lot of representation.
Or females in general.
Yeah, that's also a thing.
Yep.
So again, I saw that he was trying to sell a Cobra Valkyries. I do already own a set of these.
I was going to say, I thought you did have these, but
I got them when they first came out, but I like troop builders. And again, they're female Cobra troopers. They look badass.
All right.
So thank you again, Rolando. Go check out his YouTube channel, GI Rolly. And thanks again, brother. Yo, Joe.
Yeah. All right, so that's the old stuff. But now we have some brand new stuff. Now, the way we've been doing this lately is I buy all of our G.I. Joes because it just works out better for us to buy them together. That way we don't have to pay individual shipping. And then once I get the figures, I email Chad and I say, I got our stuff. And then he sends me some money. So
usually after a couple curse words.
Yeah. So I've had these figures now for a couple of weeks. Mine are already opened. I've got them over here, and I'll be able to show them to you. But you are just seeing these figures for the very first time.
Yeah.
Because he hasn't been over to my house since the last time we shot, which was 3 weeks ago.
Yeah.
So, So why don't you show these figures in the box?
Okay.
And then we'll do a bit of a close-up of them.
Sure. So the first one is going to be the 2-pack of the, not the wrapper, of G.I. Joe Roadblock, Tripwire, and McLeod from the Tiger Force line.
This was available, I don't know if it was initially a Hasbro exclusive or not. I think we got ours from GameStop.
Yes.
But this one was, it was a little tough to track down because I think it went on Hasbro first and it sold out like immediately.
Yeah.
And I was able to thankfully order some from GameStop like the next day or something. But so mine are already open. I'll cut in some close-up shots of them. But here's Roadblock, so you can take a closer look at him. So there's Roadblock.
Yeah, he's got some weight to him.
Yeah, and he's got a big-ass gun with a tripod here with a bullet belt and all that stuff. Although it's not easy for him to grip this. I feel like could use an extra grip on here somewhere. It's a little difficult for me to get that into his hands properly. And then here is Tripwire. This is the G.I. Joe
Minesweeper?
He's got a mine detector. But yeah, so this is one of the classic G.I. Joes. Both these guys are from the very early years of G.I. Joe, A Real American Hero. I think Tripwire was 83 and Roadblock was 84. So yeah, very early on. And yeah, as Chad mentioned, Tripwire comes with his little robot McLeod, they've called it. And this is similar to the version that came with the other Tripwire. Although I think that one was cast in like maybe brown or gray.
I think it was gray.
Yeah, this one is like molded in green, and it's got the little Tiger Force paint job on the side that shows like the
Which is
teeth
super
and stuff.
cool.
So that's pretty cool. So yeah, what are your initial thoughts on these?
Initial thoughts. I forget which roadblock I don't have.
I don't think you have that one, right? Though, like the.
It might be the original roadblock I don't have. I think I had the Cobra Island roadblock. Is that a thing?
Yes, that's the guy with the beard and the sunglasses. Is that the one?
Yeah. I think that's the one I have.
Yeah, Roadblock's kind of weird because for the classified line's only been around for a couple of years, but they've already done several versions of Roadblock. The first version of Roadblock, which I think was in wave, if not wave 1, wave 2 of G.I. Joe Classified. It might have even been wave 1. But he is in what is known as Roadblock version 2 outfit.
Yeah.
Because like in the vintage line, Roadblock version 1 from 1984, he had like a green tank top and like brown pants. And then I think it was 86 when they released version 2 of him, where he had a green vest with like some red patches on the shoulder. And I thought it was a little strange. Like in the classified line, they started with the version 2. We got Roadblock with the green vest and the red patches and stuff, which, you know, I think most people, especially old school fans, associate with Roadblock with his version 1 look. And then even after we got that version 2, then they gave us a Cobra Island Target exclusive one, which is what you're talking about. And he had this big burly beard, which is not normally associated with Roadblock. And he had like mostly a black outfit and sunglasses, none of which are normally associated with Roadblock. It's not a bad figure, but in my mind, I was imagining it as Heavy Duty, which was another character altogether. But then they released an Amazon exclusive Roadblock, which was hard to find. And so I don't think you have that one.
No.
It looks just like this, except it's in the version 1 colors with the green tank top and all that sort of stuff. Anyway.
Yeah, go ahead. Continue.
I was going to say, so this one here, which is true to the vintage line, because they had Roadblock version 1, and then when they did Roadblock version 2, it was a completely different mold. New head, new vest, new pants, all that stuff. But then when they did Roadblock version 3, which was the Tiger Force version, that was a repaint of version 1. And they'd added tiger stripes and all that stuff. So even though the order is a little out of whack with Classified, they did version 2 first, and then they did version 1, but now version 3, this one, is a repaint of the version 1, the Amazon exclusive.
Yeah. You just completely lost me there, but
I know.
I know what you're talking about. But.
I'm sure I'm losing people that don't know this shit, but for the people that have been around since the beginning, like you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have wanted them to repaint version 1 Roadblock into that, because it just wouldn't have made sense. I'm glad they went with the Amazon version. I like this figure.
I'm actually pretty pleased with this figure. I know we're occasionally at odds about like helmet fits and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's a really nice snug fit for the helmet.
Yeah,
the backpacks, which we usually complain about, seems like it's in place, being held properly. And the one thing that I do like, I don't know if this is like maybe because you haven't played with the holster a lot, but the holster on the legs are usually pretty flimsy and they slide up and down. This one seems like it's in.
Yeah. There's varying degrees of how well some of this stuff slides around.
Yeah.
Like on the old toys in the 80s, they didn't have any stuff like that. It was all molded right to the figure. I like that in newer figures they have the web gear and all that stuff is separate, although it does kind of have its problems sometimes when it slides out of place. Sometimes I almost wish it was just part of the initial sculpt, the holsters and everything. But yeah, this one, it looks good. It stays in place. I will say, and you might not have even noticed this when you were just playing with them, but in the vintage toy line, none of the Tiger Force characters had any paint on their face.
Yeah.
And then when they released the Tiger Force Flint in Classified, that he had all this black tiger stripe paint on his face, and people were kind of like, what the fuck? Why did you change him? That's not like the vintage figure. Now, I don't need my new figures to be exactly the same as my vintage ones. It did seem like a bit of an odd choice with Flint. Like, why not do that with all the Tiger Force guys if you're going to do it at all? I didn't necessarily think it really looked good on Flint. I kind of wish they hadn't done it. But I don't know if you can tell on
Under his
Roadblock,
helmet.
he has got paint on him as well.
I did notice that.
So he's got, it's subtle because he's got a dark skin tone anyway, but he does have some black paint kind of like sprawled across his face. The vintage Tiger Force Roadblock did not have that. So like Flint, they kind of went a new direction. I don't necessarily love it. I'd kind of prefer they didn't do it, but it doesn't ruin the figure for me or anything because it's there. So yeah, I think this figure is pretty cool. I like him.
Tripwire, I don't really have much to say about. He's Tripwire. I don't know if this is just me being picky, but it looks like his head is too thin for the helmet. Like, the helmet just takes over most of his head. I don't know. That's just me being picky. Like,
well, Tripwire is a tricky one for me too because like I had Tripwire when I was a kid, both versions, the original one from '83 as well as the Tiger Force repaint, which was I think '86. And in the vintage toy line, he did not have a removable helmet. The helmet was sculpted to his head.
Yeah. And
then even in the kind of the version 3 modern G.I. Joe line that started in 2007, like that's the 4-inch G.I. Joe line. That was the first time G.I. Joe got a little more complex and they started having some of this removable web gear and everything. A lot of the characters that had masks that were sculpted to them in the vintage line all of a sudden were removable in the 4-inch line.
Right.
Tripwire still did not have a removable mask. His mask was still part of the sculpt. In the 6-inch classified line, they have given Tripwire in both versions, the single carded version that we got earlier and now the Tiger Force repaint. The helmet's removable, which I like the notion of. Like every character, you know, kind of, it'd be cool if their helmets came off. But I don't think it captures the look of the vintage toy very well that I think they could have done better if they had sculpted the helmet as part of the head. I almost wish instead of the removable helmet, they'd given us 2 different heads. A head with the whole mask sculpted on and then an unmasked head that you could pop on and off. Because when I look at this figure, as much as I like it, it doesn't scream Tripwire to me. And I felt the same way about the version 1 figure. I think of the Tripwires, I like this version better than the version 1.
Yeah.
And I think I was kind of the same way when I was a kid. I had both versions. The Tiger Force version is just got he's a little more interesting. He's got a little more color variety. I think this figure is really cool. Because in the vintage line, again, they repainted a bunch of characters into Tiger Force, such as Duke, such as Flint, such as Dusty. I talk all the time about how me and my brother collected together when we were kids. My brother had Tiger Force Duke, Tiger Force Flint, Tiger Force Dusty, Tiger Force Frostbite. My Tiger Force guys were Tripwire and Roadblock. Those were the guys that I had as a kid. So when I think of Tiger Force, these are the 2 guys I think of. Even though in the classified line, I've already got Tiger Force, Flint, Duke, Dusty, Bazooka, Outback. How many? Recondo. I have a bunch of them. But as a kid, I only had Tripwire and Roadblock. So I was really excited about this 2-pack because it just kind of speaks to my childhood. I think they look really cool. One thing that's I think is a little interesting. In the vintage toy line, Tripwire never had any sidekicks. Right. When they did the single carded release of Tripwire, not only did he have McCloud, his little like mine detecting robot here, but he also had a rat, which had a little rat with a little like vest on it.
Yeah.
I forget its name right now.
It starts with an A.
Yeah, I don't remember. But for this 2-pack, I was kind of surprised they gave him the robot again, but there's no mention of the rat.
Yeah.
I don't need another rat. I don't really care, but it's just now that you've associated him with having a rat sidekick, I'm kind of surprised we didn't get.
Where's my rat?
Yeah, a rat. Like, it wouldn't cost them much to add the rat. There's no articulation on the rat. It's just a little teeny piece of plastic. So they could have repainted that, maybe little tiger stripes on the vest on the rat.
That would have been cool.
That would have been cool. But yeah, I'm not going to sweat it. I like this pack quite a bit.
I am a fan of it, yeah.
Okay. Shall we move on?
Let's move on. The next up for grabs is Dreadnought Gnawgahyde and Yabo and Pork Belly.
Yeah. Now, did you have Gnawgahyde when you were a kid?
I want to say I did.
I did. I loved Gnawgahyde.
You know, I didn't have him. I had Torch.
Torch, okay.
Yeah.
Which are both Dreadnoughts.
Yeah.
Like, the original Dreadnoughts were Torch, Buzzer, and Ripper. And then every year after that, they kind of added a new Dreadnought or two to the team. I had I always called him Gnawhyde when I was a kid. I mispronounced it. It is supposed to be Gnawgahyde.
Yeah.
But I always said Gnawhyde, so it's hard for me to change that now. But, like, yeah, I had Gnawgahyde as a kid. I loved that figure. I thought he was really cool. He had a lot of accessories. He had the little, like, safari hat. He had, like, a machete that strapped onto his wrist, kind of like Wolverine or something. He had a warthog, which was just a solid piece of plastic, just like all the animals in the vintage line. So there was no articulation on the warthog. He was a cool figure. He had a very expressive face. He was supposed to be a poacher, which was kind of his background. But so this is your first ever Gnawgahyde.
Yeah. I gotta say, man, this Pork Belly is pretty impressive. Like, he's probably, I don't know, if you stand them up together, he's probably almost the same size of Gnawgahyde.
Yeah, like, so I've got them open here.
Yeah, let's move to your open ones.
So here's Gnawgahyde. I don't know if I have all of his accessories on him because these guys came with a lot of stuff. So I've got him here. He's got his backpack, which is a big rifle case. He's got his, like, kind of sniper rifle. I've got the machete hooked onto his hand.
Yeah, that's so cool.
He's got the hat, which, it's funny, they've got, like, some scars on his head and a tattoo on his head, which weren't on the original version. It's a pretty cool figure.
I really like his expression on this one. It's just like this, what do you call it? Underbite?
He's got an underbite.
It's like he's got an underbite.
Well, see, it's funny because that's the one gripe I have about this figure.
Really?
Is the vintage figure was so expressive, cartoonishly so. He almost looked like the Purple Pie Man from Strawberry Shortcake or something.
Okay.
He had this really exaggerated mustache and his sneer. He had this big toothy sneer.
Yeah.
I could imagine some people didn't like it from the vintage toy line, but I liked it on him because it stood out so much. When I see this face on this guy, he doesn't look mean. He looks dumb to me. And I don't mean it's badly sculpted, but when I look at it, I would imagine this guy is kind of a like dummy.
Yeah, I can see that.
Like, his eyes are kind of a blank stare, and then he's got this kind of underbite that looks like he's like, it makes him look dumb. Whereas the old one, he had really angry eyebrows and a really angry sneer. He did not look dumb. He looked pissed. And I don't know why they gave him such a kind of, like, muted expression. That's the only thing I don't like about this figure.
I mean, yeah, other than that, solid, I think. And this rifle case backpack looks like it fits in there nice and...
Yeah, the backpack fits in good.
Nice and tight.
Again, I've had this guy for a couple weeks, so I can't even remember does the case, I think the case opens and you can store the rifle in there. There's also a peg hole on the back of the case, so I think you could peg
the gun outside.
Additional accessories into that. You can see he's got a nice big knife that plugs into the back of his belt there. So there's a sheath there. He's got a knife on his ankle.
Yeah, it does.
He's got, like, dog tags, and he's got a little bone necklace. The removable hat. Like, he's got a lot going on. I like the print on his vest. It's like cheetah print. He's got a kind of a Craven the Hunter type of vibe.
Yeah,
here.
I could see that.
I just wish his face looked a little angrier. And like even this, what I think are supposed to be claw marks across his head, like a tiger clawed him. It kind of looks like a bad comb over.
It's like Colin Farrell from Horrible Bosses.
Yeah, I can't remember that off the top of my head, but yeah,
Yeah.
I think I know what you're talking about. Like, it just he's got these 3 long lines. It's like kind of like Homer.
Yeah.
You know, it's just like, and I think that adds to the dumbness looking of him. So yeah, he's good, but he's not a total home run in my opinion. But he does have his warthog sidekick, which they now call Pork Belly.
Yeah. What was he?
Nothing. Which was interesting in the vintage toy line. A lot of G.I. Joes came with animals.
Yeah.
Like Spirit came with his eagle, Freedom, and Snake Eyes came with his wolf, Timber, and Shipwreck came with his parrot, Polly. A lot of bad guys came with animals too, but they never had names.
Okay.
So it was a little unclear. Is this like his pet? Is this just supposed to be
something he's hunting?
Yeah, like did Gnawgahyde come with a warthog so he could kill it? Or was it something that he loved? I don't know. It wasn't clear. So the original warthog was just like a solid pink, solid piece of brown plastic, and they had his mane was painted like white.
That is sick.
Yeah, but the other examples that come to mind is like Hydro Viper came with a stingray that didn't have a name, and Undertow came with a barracuda that didn't have a name. Voltire came with a vulture that didn't have a name. So,
does his mouth open?
I believe it does.
Yeah, it sure does. That's cool. Like, to me, that speaks deluxe figure. Like,
oh yeah,
it's so easy for them to just give us a hunk of plastic with no articulation, but like the amount of detail that this guy can articulate, like his legs go back and forth, up and down, ankle articulation,
yeah,
open jaw, like that's super cool because most of the toys, you know, their jaw doesn't open or fall off.
Yeah, I do recall the jaw did fall off of the pig when I was playing with them.
Maybe I will not do that with mine.
It clips back to
there
the place.
We go. Yeah,
but yeah, some of the G.I. Joes come in a range of prices. The standard figure is just like a single, which we're going to talk about some of those. But then they have like the deluxe figures, which come with a little bit more stuff. Then they have like the 2-packs, and they have like kind of like super deluxe. Gnawgahyde is, I think, totally worth the price because he has the big rifle case, he has the big gun. That stuff alone doesn't impress me. But when you come with the Warthog, which itself has, if I had to count points of articulation, it's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16 points of articulation is what I count on this Warthog. Considering the vintage one had none, like this thing moves.
Yeah.
That reminds me of another example of an animal that didn't have a name in the vintage toy line was Crocmaster's Crocodile.
Yeah.
He came with a little teeny crocodile that didn't move, so it wasn't very menacing. The new Crocmaster, they made it a deluxe figure, and he came with this big, huge crocodile that they named Fiona. And he had all kinds of points of articulation. His legs moved, his tail moved, his jaw opened, and they've given Pork Belly the same treatment here. So now it feels like a real character. They pierced his nose.
I know, that's so cool.
Which seems like something the Dreadnoks would do. He's got a piercing in his ear, which I think the vintage one might have had the piercing in the ear, but I don't think it had a piercing in the nose. Anyway, I think, yeah, the Warthog is really, really cool. And then lastly, they threw in a whole new sidekick. This one is not articulated. What's his name again?
Yobo.
So they added
Yabo.
They added a monkey. And he's got an eye patch. It reminds me of the monkey from
The Simpsons.
I was going to say Raiders of the Lost Ark.
Okay, I can see that.
I don't know the monkey from The Simpsons. Or is
that Family Guy?
I don't know.
Oh my god, my fandom is terrible today. It's been a long week for me.
Yep.
Yeah, this Yabo. Let's go with Yabo. He looks super pissed off. It's kind of cool.
He's cool, and he's got multiple paint apps. So his teeth are painted, his eyes are painted, his face is painted, his hands are a different color than the rest of the body. Like, so he looks good. It would have been nice if he had maybe a little bit of articulation.
Like the neck.
Yeah.
Move the neck.
And I also wish he had a clear place to go.
Yeah.
I think on the package they show him riding pork belly, and that does seem to be the place that he kind of works best. He does kind of sit on the back of the pig like this.
Yeah.
But the monkey, I kind of wish he sat on Gnawgahyde's shoulder or on Gnawgahyde's backpack. So that would have been a nice little bonus, but that's fine. Moving on.
Here's my guy.
Yeah.
Cobra Dreadnought Torch.
Yes, so this is another one of the Dreadnoughts. He seems a little late to the party because we've already had Buzzer and Ripper. And in the vintage line, Buzzer, Ripper, and Torch all came out at the same time. They were all introduced in the cartoon at the same time. It's hard for me to separate any of the three of them from one another. Like, they feel like a trio. So the fact that they released them staggered in the classified line felt a little wrong to me. But I'm glad we finally got it.
He's super cool. I remember having so much fun with him when I was younger.
Yeah.
I have a thing for like flamethrowers. And I want to say that's because of like Alien. That came from Alien.
And so here's my torch outside of the packaging. You can see here he does have a big flame effect that you can connect to the blowtorch, which is nice because the vintage one did not have that. They did have a flame effect on later versions of him, but I think this is the best. Plus the flamethrower itself, it's got a skull at the end with a couple flames coming out of the eyes, so that's pretty cool. I like that he's got flame tattoos on his forearms. It's a nice figure. It definitely looks like the vintage torch.
Yeah.
Just kind of amped up to 11. Looks really good.
Super cool. How does he stand up with the torch gun? Like, do you find he's top heavy and falls over a lot?
I don't know. Since I got these figures, I basically just been sitting over here on a
waiting for me.
I don't ever put my figures on display up on my shelves until after I've reviewed them for you guys. So I don't know how he stands up, but he doesn't hold it great.
Yeah, I'm noticing that. Like, maybe even with the finger lock and the trigger there, it's still kind of...
Well, the flame makes it really heavy.
Yeah.
And he doesn't have a really strong grip. And I find anytime you have a gun that's got a hose that connects it to the backpack, the hose kind of forces the gun in a certain direction. So this has a couple of things working against it with the hose and the weight, the loose grip. So it looks cool, but yeah, it's not the most effective.
That is probably my only gripe, and then the backpack doesn't even stay in.
Yeah.
That's unfortunate. But, still cool.
Still cool.
Love seeing Torch. Love the skull on the flamethrower. Yeah, this gun is not going to work for me.
Alright, so what's next?
Reach in my big box of goodies. This one I was kind of excited for, and you got me excited for him because I can't remember him as a kid. Like, there's 5 years between us, so you were of age when G.I. Joe came out. I was...
Yeah, I was born in 78. G.I. Joe came out in 82. So I was 4, 5 when like the toys were really kind of hitting, which was kind of, I feel like, the perfect age. And maybe even that was a little young, but the fact that I have a brother that's 2 years older than me, he was the perfect age. Yeah. So he got into it, and I got into it right with him. But yeah, you, being 5 years younger, you wouldn't have come in.
I was born in 82, and I came into Joe probably in 1988, I think, because I stopped collecting Joes and then went to the Turtle line.
Yeah, and Doc's an 83 release.
Yeah. So Doc's super cool. Yeah, I was really excited to get this. How does he look outside the package?
He looks good. Although I have a gripe right off the bat, which I was really excited about Doc. And I'll be honest, like, I had Doc when I was a kid. So back then in 1983, my Joe team was pretty small. I only had, like, half dozen G.I. Joes. And Doc was not one of my favorites at the time, and I think it was just because he was the medic, so he wasn't
boring.
Yeah, he's not that exciting because when my GI Joes go into battle, I usually didn't bring them back injured. They either went into battle and they died. So Doc didn't have a whole lot to do. But over time, I have come to become a huge fan of Doc, and I really like him. And I like this figure.
So what's your gripe? The glasses?
It's not so much just the glasses, it's the combination of the glasses and the helmet. They are very hard to get to work in unison because the vintage Doc figure, the glasses were sculpted. It was part of the head. You couldn't take them off. And I kind of like that they make glasses that are removable now, but sort of not, because they fall off relatively easily. They would not withstand play.
No.
Like, if I was a little kid and I had this figure, it's not like I would have Doc taking his glasses on and off all the time. Like, I don't really understand why they, like, Baroness has removable glasses too. I don't really think they're necessary. Now, the vintage Doc did have a removable helmet, but the helmet didn't have a chin strap or anything like that. This helmet is very tight on his head. It has a chin strap. So trying to get this on his head with the strap under his chin without knocking the glasses out of place is very, very hard to do.
Yeah. My first gripe, definitely, pardon me, is the glasses. But we've seen on other classified figures that they put the little holes in the side of the head with a peg in there so they sit on properly.
Yeah.
Not even here. And they're not even close to his ear. Like, the arms aren't even close to his ears. So, yeah, I could see those falling off and getting loose.
Now, mind you, if you put the tight helmet on his head, and you were able to get the glasses like underneath the helmet, they would probably stay in place just fine. It would look fine. But in the little bit of time I spent on it, I was trying to get the helmet on. His glasses were going all over the place. I was worried I was going to break the arms of the glasses. I took the glasses off. I put the helmet on, and then I tried to fit the glasses in underneath, and they were bending. And I was like, "Fuck this!" So I have not yet got the helmet and the glasses on together.
Right, and these pouches are just plug-in? Yeah. That's kind of cool.
It's kind of cool, but it's also kind of annoying.
Because they'll fall out.
Yeah, like, I did a video a long time ago now where I did a review of my Marauder Task Force figures. There's a company called Marauder Gun Runners, and they make their own line of 4-inch military figures that are like G.I. Joes, essentially. In some ways, they were superior to G.I. Joes. The detail was really nice. They had a lot of really cool features. One of the features they had is that when you bought their figure, they had like vests, and you could plug pouches, so you could choose if you wanted a knife sheath, or if you wanted a gun holster, or if you wanted a pocket. And you could change that stuff on their arms and on their legs and on their vests. The problem is the figures were pretty small, and those pegs were pretty small, that you couldn't really play with the figures. If you picked one up, all the pouches and the holsters and everything were falling off of them, and it was really annoying. Now, I think the intent was that once you picked a setting that you liked, you were supposed to maybe crazy glue the stuff in place, but I never really wanted to do that and commit to
Why screw with your toys?
Yeah, so even though the Marauder Task Force figures were really nice, and they still make them, if you're not familiar with Marauder Task Force and you like 3 3/4-inch figures, check them out. Marauder Gun Runners, they do a lot of cool stuff. But this figure here, they took that approach, and so Doc has a vest that's got a bunch of holes in it, and then he came with a bunch of alternate pouches that you can plug into different pegs. And because they're a little bigger than the Marauder ones, they stay in place a bit better, but they're still kind of flimsy.
Yeah, they look like if you even tried to touch it, it gets loose right away.
And it's the kind of thing that, like, if I had a kid, I don't, but if I had a young son and I wanted to share my joy of G.I. Joe with him and I was buying him these toys to legitimately play with, like, go ahead, take Doc out in the sandbox.
Just leave his accessories.
You'd lose his pouches, you'd lose his glasses. Like, I do appreciate that they gear these figures a little bit more towards collectors, but I think there should be a little bit of a middle ground where you don't want to make pieces that are too small and too flimsy, and you still want these figures to be playable.
Yeah. One feature I do like, it's kind of cool, is the gray hair on the sides. Like,
Yeah.
he's got that Mr. Fantastic going on.
Yeah, which the vintage figure didn't have. But in the later comic books, now, spoiler alert, Doc died in the comic books. And so that was back when Marvel had the original G.I. Joe comic book. Doc died in the original Marvel comic books. And then when Devil's Due, a new company took up the G.I. Joe license, but they honored all the continuity, from Marvel. But they introduced a new Doc, which was his daughter. And so there was a female. So this is Carl Greer. His daughter was Carla Greer.
Huh.
And she wore a similar outfit with the kind of tan outfit and all that stuff. So I actually hope that we get a Carla Greer
I was
figure.
just about to ask you that. Do you think we'd get one?
Yeah, but if they do that, I kind of like the fact that they made Doc look a bit older to justify that
Having a daughter.
having a grown-up daughter that would be a medic in her own right. So yeah, I like that too.
Yeah, good figure.
Now, one thing I'll mention is I think I'm showing you most of the accessories here, but I do have a whole bag of accessories that these guys came with. So, like, I've got Doc's helmet in here, which he's not currently wearing. Another thing Doc came with, which is notable, is the stretcher. The vintage Doc came with a stretcher, but it was just a solid piece of plastic, and it was a little awkward. This one here folds in half, so it folds out so you can have the full-size stretcher, so you could lay a figure on it. But it also, when you fold it in half, it's got a peg, so you can put it on Doc like a backpack.
Excellent.
And he can carry it. I don't think it necessarily works great, especially if you have any of these pouches attached to them. But it's a cool concept that even if it doesn't work 100%, I like the idea that this thing folds and that it fits on his back. So that's pretty cool. I don't know if there's anything else I missed here. Like Gnawgahyde, I think he has some bows and arrows, which I didn't show you guys. So yeah, he's got like a full-on like bow and arrow set. There's some other things here, like Torch. I showed you the big flame he has on his flamethrower. He also came with a much smaller.
That's probably what I'd equip.
Which would probably not weigh him down quite as much. So you have that option. So yeah, there is some cool accessories such as alternate hands and things like that. But I'm not going to get into all that detail with every figure. Just know that there are some extra accessories with some of these figures.
All right, I didn't have this one. Cobra Night Creeper.
Cobra Night Creeper.
First impressions, this guy is pretty slick. Like, is he a ninja?
He is a ninja.
Yeah. I have a thing for ninjas.
They were... Because the Cobra team, like Storm Shadow was obviously their main ninja. I think Night Creeper was the second one that came around. And they were kind of their own thing. So they were almost like subcontractors of Cobra because there was a Night Creeper leader. And then he had his own Night Creepers. So I don't know if we'll get Night Creeper leader eventually.
I have to say I'm really enjoying these new packages. Like, they have to be smaller, but like the tabs on the bottom, I can see how that would appeal to in-box collectors who maybe just want to take it out and have a look at it, and it just seals back up nicely instead of destroying the box and ripping the tape off.
Like we open our figures.
Yeah, 100%.
I'm not an in-box collector. I do think these boxes are sleek. I like them. But I will say, if I was an in-box collector, I would be very frustrated by how many times Hasbro has changed the style of packaging.
Yeah.
Like, you had the original figures, which were window boxed, and then they went to the sealed box, and then you have the retro cards, and now you have these. It's like, it'd be very inconsistent. And in this day and age, there's in-box collectors. I wish they had the foresight to kind of say, let's pick the perfect packaging and stick with it, and we'll do the whole line that way instead of changing it every year because it's kind of obnoxious.
It's annoying.
Yeah. All right. So Night Creeper, do you want to talk about him?
Yeah. So you have the loose figure.
Yeah. So here is Night Creeper. This guy honestly I think he was the year I got out of G.I. Joe. I think the original one was like 1990, maybe, was when he was first introduced. So I did not have Night Creeper when I was a kid. but my little brother did. He got into G.I. Joes for just a little while. So there was a Night Creeper floating around my house. I like the Night Creeper. They did add the Night Creeper to like the later iterations of G.I. Joe, like the new sculpt era that began in 2002. I had a whole bunch of Night Creepers. And then in the 4-inch line that began in 2007, I had a whole bunch of Night Creepers. So I've definitely come to appreciate this character. I think he has a really cool look, and I think this is a really cool figure.
Yeah. I love him right away just because he's a ninja, but it's kind of cool. I like this head sculpt. And does this come off the
I don't. The head comes off. I don't think the turban, for
Yeah,
lack of a better
that's-
word, whatever you want to call it. I don't know what that's called.
head covering?
Yeah.
Sure.
Looks like the kind of thing they wear in like in the Mummy. They put on these
Yeah.
like head coverings in the desert. So yeah, they wear that. He's got these goggles. It's cool.
Is that pink? I'm colorblind, so
It's various
It's-
shades of purple.
purple?
Kind of purple and maroon.
Okay.
And then on his pants, he's got gray pants. It's kind of got a dark gray and a purple camo. I think they're really neat looking. They don't look like your standard ninja. I don't know who came up with this design, but it feels pretty original to me.
Yeah.
Because like when you think ninja, you think Storm Shadow. That's kind of the classic ninja design. So to come up with something as like bizarre as this, like it's cool.
Yeah, I'm a fan. And how does the other head look?
Yeah, so with the Night Creeper, he came with 2 heads because the Night Creeper version 2 from the vintage toy line had a completely different look. New color scheme, new shaped head, totally different. I don't know if they're going to bother doing a full-on Night Creeper version 2. And the fact that they included the Night Creeper version 2 head with this figure kind of leads me to believe that they don't intend to do one in the colors of the Night Creeper version 2. So this was kind of their way of throwing a bone to people to be like, here's the other head. He's not in the right colors. But anyway, I bought 2 Night Creepers.
Did you?
Because I wanted to have both heads on display. We've done the same thing with characters like the Bat that had 2 different heads, and the Snow Serpent that had 2 different like display options. So yeah, because I didn't have the Night Creeper version 2 as a kid either, but it's a cool look. So they look totally different.
Now I want a second one.
And they have enough display options with extra hands and extra weapons. So you'll notice in this guy here, I've got him with 2 kind of jagged swords. And then that guy there, he's got the crossbow and he's got a karate chop hand. So, and again, it allows for some army building possibilities. You don't have to have the exact same figure with the same weapon, just with a different head. You can kind of totally change up the weapons and everything.
Yeah. No, that's a cool.
And you see how those swords store on the side of the
Yeah,
back?
that's super cool. I love that they have, I think it looks like clips.
Yeah, the swords can slide down both sides of the backpack for storage. It's pretty cool. And he also has 2 cool, like, these little knives, which look pretty brutal. They're like little curved knives, so they tuck into the back on his belt there. Those are pretty cool.
Nice. I might need a second one now. Sorry, Mom.
Yeah, it's a cool figure. It's worth getting 2. Because like in the case of the Bat, sometimes it's just like a standard head and a battle damaged head, and like you could argue, do I really need to display the battle damaged head? But these heads are completely different. They create essentially a totally different character.
Now, one thing that just looks silly on this figure is the feet.
Yeah.
They almost look like he's wearing slide-on slippers, but then the toe cut is like literally right in the middle of the foot. So it looks like he has only 2 toes on each one.
He's got kind of like a camel toe on his toes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, other than that, it's a solid figure. Yeah, I'm definitely going to get
Another one? Okay. Speaking of getting another one, let's talk about the last figure that we have today. This figure I only bought once.
No, we have 2 more.
Do we have 2 more?
Yeah.
I only have 1 more. Oh, no, shit. I forgot about him. All right. Because he's over there. But yeah, let's talk about her. So the last figure in this wave. So, like, the Tiger Force guys were kind of their own thing. Gnawgahyde was kind of his own thing. But like Doc and Torch and the Night Creeper, they were like an official wave that all came out at the same time. And this was the other figure in that wave.
Another ninja. We have G.I. Joe, Kim, Jinx, Arashikage.
Yeah. Now, I love Jinx. And this is why I want to get a second one. I only bought one of this figure, but she has two heads, and I want to display her with both.
Yeah.
So I currently have her displayed the same way she came out of the box, which is in her unmasked head. But she does have a fully like ninja mask head, which is also really cool. And to be fair, like sure, I could just pop it on when I want to, but I don't play with these things. They just go on my shelf for display. So if I put her on here like this, I'm not just going to randomly go into my bin of spare parts and get her extra head. I would rather have two of her on my shelf with each head so I can kind of enjoy them both. But so yeah, what's your experience with Jinx? Did you have her?
I did have her, again, a ninja. So I liked ninjas since I was a kid.
Yep.
Definitely had her. I forget the lore, though. So she was a student of Storm Shadow. Is that?
She's Storm Shadow's cousin. Yeah. And yeah, so she was introduced in the animated movie. The same movie that introduced Cobra La and all that sort of stuff. And arguably, like, she's maybe one of the best things about that movie. Like, she was one of the new recruits. And there was other new recruits, such as, like, Law and Order and Tunnel Rat and Big Lob. And all of them had their scenes. They had their moment to get to do something. But she had a little bit more to do, because not only was she a new character getting to show off her ninja skills, but she also was the love interest of Lieutenant Falcon, who was, like, the star of the movie. So Lieutenant Falcon was chasing her down, so that gave her a little bit of additional screen time. And I already loved the figure, because I'm pretty sure I had the Jinx figure before I saw the animated movie. And getting to see her kind of fleshed out in the cartoon, I just loved this character. Now, the interesting thing about the vintage toy was that she just had the red ninja mask. So all you ever saw of her was her eyes. And she had full red sleeves. The only skin you could see was her ankles, because she had little slippers on. Yeah. And then around her eyes. And then the movie came out, and she doesn't ever really put the mask on. You see her face. She's got short black hair. And at most, she kind of puts on a bandana around her eyes to kind of fight blind. Yeah. And I always thought it was a little weird how it felt disconnected from the figure. Like, how come she never wears her mask? And I really liked the masked look. But in the many figures of Jinx that have come out in the years since, they have released some versions of her where she has a mask, some versions where she's unmasked. I'm pretty sure this is the first time we've ever got the option to give her the masked or the unmasked. And I love them both. They look good.
Yeah, I don't think I would buy a second one of her. I would probably put the masked head on right out of the gate. Yeah. So, I mean, this is a really nice face sculpt, but I love my ninjas. So,
yeah.
Badass tattoo, too.
Yeah, so that's new because she has exposed arms.
Yeah.
Which the vintage one didn't have. So you can see she's got the tattoo on her there, which is something they've delved into. Like, I know in the current comic book from Skybound, she's got like tattoos on her.
Yeah.
I don't know. I can't remember if they did that in any of the like Devil's Due or IDW comic books. Like, I almost wish she had interchangeable arms. I know that's a big ask, but if you're going to display her like this with her face, I think she looks good with the bare arms. But I think if I put the red mask on her to try and replicate the vintage figure, it looks a little odd to have the exposed arms because the vintage one had the full red sleeves. So I kind of wish she had full red sleeves. I don't know. Like, I might be a little jumping the gun if I go buy a second one because
retro card.
I don't know if they'll go retro card, but she was in Tiger Force as well. So they could release the same figure in green with yellow stripes. And if they did, I could put that version on my shelf with the mask on and this one without. Maybe that would be good enough. But I don't know. just because she's one of my all-time favorite G.I. Joe characters, I don't really mind buying her twice for the two heads. I did the same thing with Zarana.
Yeah.
And she didn't even have two heads. She just had two different hairdos.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I definitely see myself probably buying this one again. But I love it. Yeah. I don't know what it's like. A lot of these Joe figures are contenders for best of the year. But Jinx right away shoots up to potential number one spot for me. Like,
really? Okay.
Well, like Zarana, she was just such a favorite character of mine. And I feel this new figure just really does it justice in a way that so many other versions haven't quite lived up to my expectations. And like they did a female ninja in the classified line with the full mask very early on.
That was the blue ninja?
Yeah, they did it. They just kind of called it a generic blue ninja, but it was a female ninja that looked like Jinx. And then they repainted that figure to Vipra, which in the vintage line, Vipra was just a repaint of Jinx anyway. So it seemed obvious to me that we were going to get that figure repainted in red to be Jinx. It was a no-brainer. And I would have been happy with that because it's a nice figure, but at the same time, it would have been my third time getting that figure. I was pleasantly surprised when they said, you know what, we're going to give Jinx a whole new sculpt. She's a unique character. She deserves better than to just be a repaint of Vipra and the Blue Ninja. So yeah, I love this figure. Very pleasant surprise for me. I think it's awesome. So
I'm stoked to get her in the collection.
Yeah, very, very cool. So yeah, we have one more figure that I almost forgot about. He just showed up yesterday. So yeah, I ordered this figure from Hasbro Pulse. So he showed up yesterday. I opened mine up. He's over there because he's on my desk because I just took some photos of him for Instagram earlier today. And yeah, here he is in the box.
G.I. Joe Sergeant Slaughter. However, he's the Mad Marauders Sergeant Slaughter.
Yeah, what do you think?
I actually quite like this figure. I wasn't sure about it when they first announced it, but like I think that cloth bag they gave him really adds another layer to the figure. Like he comes with most of the same accessories. Like he's got a world's smallest Mad Marauder again, but I like the option of the boxing gloves.
See, my thoughts on this Slaughter, I don't really care for the extra stuff. Like even the little action figure.
Yeah.
So the reason Sergeant Slaughter comes with a little action figure of himself is because you guys probably know Sergeant Slaughter is a real person that they put in the G.I. Joe line. And you know, in the commercials, he would like pitch his own toy, like buy my new G.I. Joe. So it's kind of a little bit almost like an inside joke that he would have his own action figure, which is cool. So the first version of Sergeant Slaughter they released, he came with the action figure, and he came with some other stuff, a gun. He came with like his little like stick thing. I don't know what you call that, like a drill sergeant would have.
A pace stick is what it's called in the military.
Stick, okay.
Yeah.
And that was fine. That was a good Sergeant Slaughter. The fact that they repainted it into the Slaughter's Marauders colors, again, was a no-brainer because we've already got 3 other members of Slaughter's Marauders team, which in the vintage line was, like the Tiger Force, was just an excuse to repaint figures that they'd already made, you know, for a cheap, you know, re-release. So Slaughter's Marauders, Night Force, all these things were just like, let's repaint the figures we already had. So Sergeant Slaughter led his own team of Slaughter's Marauders. We already got the Marauders Barbecue. We recently got the Marauders Low Light and Spirit. So of course we needed the leader in the Marauders colors. But the fact that they charged us deluxe price, like
for most of the same accessories,
like this figure cost us like $60 Canadian. I think. And sure, he's got the action figure, which I didn't need a second one of.
No.
And then he's got the boxing gloves, which came with Big Boa. Yeah. And there's really, like, he's not a boxer. He's a wrestler. There's really no reason for us to get the boxing gloves. It's cool that you like them, but I didn't need them. I'm not going to display him with them. And then he's got the weights. He's got these, like, 90-pound weights so he can do curls. Those are the same weights that came with Big Boa. And it made more sense with Big Boa because he is the trainer for Cobra.
Yeah.
So they threw in those. And then the other thing they gave us was that duffel bag.
Yeah.
Which, sure, it's kind of cool, especially the image on the back of the package. It shows him carrying this big duffel bag, which is like straight out of the cartoon. But the duffel bag, when you open it up, it's just a flimsy piece of material. Unless you stuff it full of toilet paper or something, it just kind of looks like a floppy little piece of material that you don't have much use for it. So, yeah, maybe I'll stuff it full of Kleenex or something so it has some girth to it. But otherwise, I didn't need that. So, this could have been a $35 figure if they didn't give me all that extra.
Well, like 3 extra sets of hands. One of those being the gloves. And then he's got the hands on them. So, I mean, like 4 sets of hands for one figure. And I feel like that's how they're screwing you into.
Well, some of it makes sense. Like he's got
his pointer finger.
He's got fists, which you want your Sergeant Slaughter to have. He's got his gun holding hands, which of course you want those to have because he holds guns. One thing that he has, the other guys don't normally, is he's got these kind of grappling hands. But since he's a wrestler, that kind of makes sense too. And then they've given him a pointing finger, which also kind of makes sense. So it's the boxing gloves which kind of feel excessive to me and not really true to the character. I don't hate them. Like Sergeant Slaughter is supposed to be the drill sergeant. I bet they probably do train with boxing gloves sometimes. It's not the end of the world. And you could probably use those gloves on other characters. You know, like if you have Big Boa with boxing gloves, it's nice to have at least one extra set of boxing gloves. You might even want to put them on a Cobra character that could spar with Big Boa or something. So again, it's not the end of the world. I'm not going to lose any sleep over it. But still, I probably would have rather them hold back on some of those accessories and let me save the $15.
Yeah, I agree with that one.
Yeah. Anyway, we are running a little bit late, and you've got to work early in the morning.
Yeah, I have to get up around 6 o'clock.
That sucks. I am probably going to keep drinking beers after you leave because I don't have to get up for nothing.
Nice. These also might be like some of the last toys I potentially have for a while.
Yeah.
In the middle of contract negotiations, which is why I have to get up early tomorrow. And if we don't get a deal, we are walking off the job on Monday, August 26th. So here's hoping.
Yeah. So yeah, good luck with that. I hope you don't have to go on strike.
Yeah.
I went on strike last year for a couple of weeks, and it kind of sucked. So yeah. Anyway, thank you very much for watching. Stay tuned because we'll be back with another episode very soon. We still have a lot of things to talk about. I've got a desk full of Marvel Legends, Transformers, DC Superpowers. I've got some San Diego Comic-Con stuff that I still haven't talked about. So yeah, we'll get to all that. So yeah, stay tuned. Like, subscribe, comment. Anything else?
Keep collecting.
Ciao.